Hello, everybody. Welcome to this month's edition of The Wellness Policy. My name is Wei Tang. I'm joined by Jordan. I'm joined by Neal. We are back. We have nothing really to talk about, but thank you for tuning in for this episode anyway. Neal, let's start with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Wei. I'm doing well. Let's go with well.
Well, okay. Why these sort of hesitation?
It's weird. In some ways, the beginning of the summer, where my work goes into summer recess, feels like not that very long ago. Yet this past month feels very long. An awful lot seems to have happened. You've been to SummerSlam and back. That was August. Jordan had his bachelorette party. Made an absolute fool of himself, from what I gather. And of course, the big events of last weekend that we'll talk about. But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm thinking about this weekend too. As John mentioned at the end of Rewind of Raw last night, I'm London bound this weekend, so I can talk about that a little.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Credentialed media, Jordan, can you believe it?
no, I cannot believe
I've
it.
come a long way.
Wow.
It's important for all of us, and I'm very happy, that nobody I would trust more, to be in that position as an overseas correspondent than you, Neal. So yeah, looking forward to chatting about that. Interesting how maybe you mark whether or not you're doing well based on whether or not there are any significant events in your life. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes not having just like a very routine thing could be a great eventful
Yeah.
existence as well.
It's true. And I have had fairly quiet summer. I haven't been on vacation or anything like that. Had visitation from my younger brother and his wife and their two kids, and that was fun. Very busy because the kids are just turned 8, and we had an early birthday party for her while she was here, and 6. So they're at the age where play acting and kind of imaginary stuff is big. So I was a customer in my niece's non-existent cafe several dozen times, it feels like, where I'm presented with a plastic plate and asked for my order. She goes off to the imaginary kitchen to cook it, and we get the bill and everything. And I hope my younger brother isn't listening. I'm fun Uncle Neal for most of the instances of this, and then after a while, I'm like, not very hungry.
Get them out of here.
Yeah.
It's not that dissimilar from pro wrestling, this fictional world. I assume, Neal, this was a court-ordered visitation?
It was voluntary.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're actually very active, Neal. Visiting imaginary cafes and all that. So
Yeah, there was that. And one last thing, okay, I'll come back to all of this. A recall of the assembly where I work. So because of some street trouble that had occurred really across the UK. I'll talk about it later. But so that sort of upset my quieter period during
it's
the
nice to
summer.
have balance. Sometimes you need to deal with real world events that have tremendous implication on the existence of daily life for people in your country, and sometimes you need to visit an imaginary cafe for
Exactly.
an imaginary croissant. Somebody, I guess, who has lives in incredibly imaginative world in our real existence is one Jordan Goodman, who maybe had one of the biggest events a human being could have this past week in his life. How was your past 30 days, Jordan?
Honestly, my mind's blown. Even just today, I think this is a pencil sharpener I just found. I'm pretty sure you turn the crank, type YouTube, ladies
Yep.
and gentlemen.
Mhm. A Rolleiflex camera. That's
This isn't a pencil sharpener.
It's a camera.
Oh, that makes sense. Lily likes photography. So yeah, it's like things have been awesome.
Was that a bit, Jordan, or did you really think that was a pencil sharpener?
I legit thought it was a pencil sharpener.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could be.
This is
Okay.
film? You would put film in this?
Well, I don't know. Is there a
Definitely see a
place?
lens.
Can you slot a pencil in there anywhere?
I mean, the top hole, I thought that.
Why don't you try to jam a pencil in there? Maybe it'll sharpen. If
I
it
don't think
does,
I
then it is.
have a pencil.
Well, okay, it's okay. This is not
anyway.
good podcasting.
That's okay. Has it ever
Terrible
been?
audio.
So you've been discovering things around your wife's house. Can we say now, Jordan?
The old hag, we call her around here.
Yes. How was your wedding?
It honestly, genuinely, sincerely, it was fucking awesome. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. Not without some emotional difficulties certainly leading up to it. Mostly just because my dad is dead and could not be there in physical form. But much of that difficulty for me was the day before. Weather was a potential issue in that the pictures and the actual ceremony was outside early Saturday, and I was woken up at 5 a.m. by like a massive storm, and even some rain fell even at 9 a.m. But the weather worked in our favor. It was clear. It was nice. It was warm. All the people that were supposed to be there were healthy and present and on time. And honestly, it was just like the most fun day for both of us.
Well, you two looked amazing, and just at least from what I can see here, it looked like a really, really nice production.
DIY as fuck.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have friends and family that are both highly committed and talented. And we all kind of worked as a team to make it like seem pretty pro, I think.
Oh yeah. The one and the only Steve Bilenky officiating there in the picture for
Dude.
YouTube viewers.
What the fuck? Like a dream come true. No lie, all sincerity. I mean, this guy Steve Bilenky has been I've done my best to turn him into like icon status the past 8 years. He literally sat at the head of the table. It wasn't about myself nor Lily. Like this was the Steve Bilenky day. And dare I say, I was able to convince my now wife to have a Steve Bilenky themed wedding. Dreams do come true.
So I'll be honest. So I guess I've known you, Jordan, or at least like I've been friends with you. What, I don't know, 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And for as long as I've known you, I guess like it's kind of been your thing on the internet. You know, like you just love mentioning the name Steve Bilenky basically in every sort of interaction that you have with the world. And even up until at least this moment, I wasn't sure if this was a real person or if it was just something you made up.
Really?
I've never heard him speak. I don't know if I've even seen his photo.
Maybe since there's been like 2 times I've ran into him in public and asked to take a picture, and he was kind enough. So I've posted that on social media.
You've only met him twice in person prior to this?
As far as the internet knows, yes.
Okay.
There's a great video of you like spotting him in the street and shouting his name as he gets into a car.
Yeah.
As I recall.
Yeah.
For internet consumption, that's
So
a celebrity sighting. But
who is Steve Bilenky?
He's just a guy, but and he's a guy that speaks. So he like literally officiated the wedding. He wrote some really nice stuff and spoke it into the microphone. And like way you're like, especially Lily's family, because they don't know this Steve Bilenky figure.
Yeah.
And most of them kind of get snippets of what I share on social media, and they thought he was just some pro wrestler, just because they know I'm into this pro wrestling thing. And when it was shared that Steve Bilenky was going to officiate, I think Lily's family was like, I think they were just bewildered. There's a wonderful
That's a
picture from
wonderful
Meriwether
picture.
Post Pavilion, seeing the great My Morning
Yeah,
Jack.
how do you so it's one thing to I guess explain this to like I don't know, like people of age, maybe
Yeah,
with a similar sense of humor as you, but how do you explain it to your wife's parents?
I don't. I just, because still on a weekly basis, like Lily's aunt a couple months before the wedding came up to me and was like, "So who's this Josh Bilenky guy?" And I'm just like, he's just a guy. He's just a guy. Um, I think to explain it would be missing the point.
I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
don't dissect the frog or something.
sure.
so I guess I'll just say like, you know, to try to relate to maybe what you've managed to pull off here. I
Hmm.
think if I suggested theming my wedding around this sort of like internet meme that I've only created for myself and then really just an audience of me and really no one else, she wouldn't agree to the wedding, period.
Well,
And
let's give this Steve Bilenky meme a bit more credit. I mean, there's been two hashtag Steve Bilenky weeks
Yes.
during COVID, in which like many dozens of people from numerous countries have excitedly participated in.
okay,
So I mean, there might be an audience of about 50 out there who could appreciate this.
Hmm.
None of them would be Lily's family, however,
right.
to your
So,
point.
did it take any convincing with Lily, or was she just on board? She's like,
We
I know what
weren't
I'm getting into.
So we weren't sure. It honestly did not come immediately to mind. And then when we were discussing who might officiate, because we were very clear this isn't going to be a religious figure of any sort, I was looking through my phone and in like almost half of the texts to people, I mentioned the name Steve Bilenky. So I'm like, oh, what about Steve Bilenky? And she was like, oh yeah, that's perfect. It's just that's not realistic. How is that possible? So I have lovely, supportive friends who went to work and figured out a way to make it happen.
So did he have to like get a license? Did he do all that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, I've officiated multiple weddings, and have another next year coming up where I'm the officiant. So it's like like honestly, it is shockingly laughable at how quick and easy and free it is to become a verified wedding officiant.
So Lily was into this. She's like, "Yeah, this is great. I know how much you love Steve Bilenky. I want to do this for you." And you're like, "I made the right choice choosing this woman."
Absolutely.
What's been Steve Bilenky's reaction to all of this?
Um, Bewildered. Um, Probably some sense of like uh, a flattered concern,
Hmm.
perhaps. But he took the money and he caved into the pressure and pseudo threats.
Okay.
I want to interject slightly to underline the commitment to Steve Bilenky that Jordan has.
Mm.
I remember watching, and this is not to bring things down, but you did mention your father's absence, Jordan, and perhaps we can talk about the fact that you said he wasn't there, at least physically.
Mm.
That's interesting. But the ceremony for your father's funeral was streamed live, and I remember watching it, and obviously an incredibly sad occasion. But during your eulogy, where Steve Bilenky were words that were uttered.
Oh, I opened with it.
Yes, and I remember your mother pointing him out, and a bit of a reaction in the crowd. So the crowd.
Yeah, a confused rabbi, we could say, up there with us. Yeah.
Interesting.
So he's more than a meme. He's a I don't know,
And it's
a phenom.
Sure. And how can you top including this bit of Steve Bilenky? How can you top your father's eulogy? Officiate the wedding.
Mhm. I would suggest maybe more than just I don't know, like a bit. Like is Steve Bilenky a form of like security blanket, would you say? for you, Jordan, in your life?
At this point, I assume, like, I've never worn a ring, literally never worn. I had no interest in a fucking class ring or any kind of, like, at least a ring you'd put on a finger, we could say. And so this wedding band I got, I mean, it's pretty thin, and there's no way I think I could show it on YouTube, but inscribed inside this wedding band, I chose the more fancier script font, but it literally does say Steve Bilenky on the inside of my wedding band. So in a sense, like, yeah, there is a sense of like he's wrapping himself around at least my literal finger and this symbolic commitment of marriage.
I guess I didn't know we'd spend 15 minutes talking about Steve Bilenky
I did.
on a podcast. About
I've
your
spent
wedding.
8 years talking about this man.
Yeah. He's one of the gateways to our friendship, Jordan. I think one of the
Really?
first times you reached out to me, like in a hey man kind of way, was would you record a happy Steve Bilenky week message, from Ireland, And I remember, so that was during the pandemic. So I guess, so I remember it was a nice day standing outside and, doing it. So, wishing a happy Steve Bilenky week to everyone all over the world and staring happily into the sky and wondering, what am I doing? Who is this guy? So
I don't remember necessarily. So we weren't really friends at that point, Neal?
not in the sense that we are now. I definitely had no idea what Steve Bilenky week was, for example. Or
But
who he was.
you did it.
Oh, I did it, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a sense of
obliging.
trust. There was a sense of trust in me, I'd assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So this is an open topics edition. This is also an open calls edition. So we welcome any and all conversation from those of you listening right now live. You can look for the StreamYard link right now in the show description, as well as in the chat room over at youtube.com/postwrestling. So just feel free to call in and we will take your call at some point. But we will maybe, I am curious to hear a little bit more about maybe just even the feeling of getting married, Jordan. Steve Bilenky aside,
Yeah.
does today feel any different than last week?
I think this idea, and you could speak to this too, given that you only got married a few years ago, Way. There isn't much of a difference in like, oh, I have a wife now, except that there's just like, there's more playful potential with that in how I speak about her, and to her. So that's been fun, but like nothing feels different necessarily in like day-to-day life or the relationship. I am riding high off of all of the love that we experienced. Just there is something to be said about inviting a group of family and friends, like for the sole purpose of like celebrating you and someone else and the partnership that you share. It was essentially like a whole weekend celebrating us. And like we did this luncheon after the ceremony, and if you're watching on YouTube, there's the proposal from last November on the stage of Merriweather Post Pavilion, which was a hustle unto itself to make that happen. And for some reason, I mentioned Goo Goo Dolls when a band I don't have much interest in. But and by the way, I did mention Steve Bilenky twice in the actual proposal on that iconic stage that dates back to, I believe, 1967, in which Hendrix and Grateful Dead and James Brown and all these iconic artists performed on, including Goo Goo Dolls, by the way. Like at the luncheon, I stood up and I offered my very sincere thanks to all the people that were there. And I don't know when I've ever done something like that, where it's like your closest friends and family are all gathered in this very intentional, concentrated way. And then I'm reflecting back my appreciation and speaking about the ways in which these individual people and these like smaller groups of people, like what they mean to me. And also like introducing them and my connection to them to like Lily's family for the first time in a public way with everyone present. And a handful of people gave really, really nice speeches, Lily's parents included. But what really touched me in particular was like I have one literal first cousin who doesn't live near me anymore. But I have a bunch of people that aren't blood relatives, but I call aunts and uncles and cousins. And these two sets of brothers in particular who are all younger than me. And throughout life, they felt like little brothers. And as we've gotten older, like dear friends, cousins. Most of them into wrestling. Like we enjoy wrestling together. And all four of them just stood up in front of the whole room. And Brett spoke on behalf of the four of them. And like that, I was moved to tears just seeing them as a united front, with Brett expressing what I have meant to all of them in their lives. Like shit like that was really special, like really, really special to me. And that just doesn't typically happen, at least in my life and the ways in which I socialize with the people I'm involved with. So all that to say, like a couple days removed, that's what feels different. There's this like greater, I just feel really loved and really connected in like super powerful ways. And I think when I think back on the wedding years from now, aside from Steve Bilenky, of course, it's just that sense of like I have really, really strong community in my life, and like I'm super grateful for that.
So to me, when I realized I was having a wedding, like, I mean, I think so much of it you think about this being a celebration of your relationship with the person that you're getting married to, but what it also ends up turning into is like a celebration of you, you know, at least you know, among your friends. And we just don't really have too many sort of contexts where we do that. Yes, we do birthdays, but like people aren't necessarily giving like lengthy speeches, you know, about what you mean, you know, to them as a relationship or as a person, not at least in sort of like that grand scope. Other than like a funeral or like, I don't know, if you're a wrestler, like a Hall of Fame induction ceremony or something. Like we don't really have many of those instances. At least like most of us won't be able to experience, you know, something like that other than at a wedding potentially. Yeah.
That's interesting. And it's something that I've definitely observed among my friends that, you know, when I'm at the age now where some of my friends are celebrating, you know, maybe a 10th wedding anniversary, and their memories are of that, you know, of how it's, especially the guys, I think it's somewhat unusual for men to, Jordan's a bit of an exception in this case, I think sometimes, but to really get sentimental about their friendships and, as you said, make speeches about it and stuff like that. And I know that your wedding anniversary was very recent, just last week, I think, if I'm getting my...
earlier this month, but close enough, yeah.
And it reminded me of the Who Is Waiting post profile, the full-on audio documentary on Who Is Waiting that John produced for you. And I'm sure the speeches at the wedding were pretty incredible too, you know, about who you are and what you mean to people. But it took me back because I remember it being around 20 minutes. So I thought, I'm going to listen to this again, you know, and it really was like a full Pollock audio production.
Yes,
I loved it.
Amazing, you know, bringing in your backyard wrestling promotion, Supreme Championship, Supreme something.
Something like that, yeah.
Supreme Champion Wrestling or something. And clips of you in a band, I think called the...
Red something?
Something like that. It doesn't matter. But yeah.
You don't want to talk about it, in other words.
Not really. I'm not somebody who really loves that sort of attention. But yeah.
That's interesting too, in its own way, because, you know, we've been quizzing Jordan for 20 something minutes, and we'll probably continue to. But when I turn this back on you, you're like, nah, don't, you're not
I'd
comfortable
much
talking
rather
about it.
talk about Steve Bilenky for the next 30 minutes. But yes, the post profile, who is waiting, is up there. The greatest gift I think anybody could receive for a wedding. So thank you to
You,
John
you,
for that.
you may have heard, I just dropped the ring. I thought I may have lost it. Like, wait, you wear a wedding band? Yes?
No, I don't actually. Only for like certain occasions, like if we're going out to another wedding or like a fancy dinner or something. But I just don't like the comfort of it on my finger.
Have you ever worn a ring?
Never. No. No. I
Yeah,
don't even wear a watch.
neither do I.
Mm,
The only thing I really wear as jewelry is a black hairband, hair tie thing.
yeah.
Um, so like, did you, because that was one of the newer things for me to confront with a wedding, like, did you feel some sense, or maybe it's when you go to more of a public type of gathering, do you feel some sense of cultural pressure? Was this something that you and Pauline had discussed?
Cultural pressure, as in like needing to live
Most
up
men
to.
wear a wedding band in our
Oh,
culture.
oh, okay. Cultural pressure to wear the band.
Yeah, like to wear a ring, a wedding ring.
No, not so much. I mean, the only person I was worried about, I don't know, like whether or not they cared would be my spouse, and
Mm,
she doesn't wear hers either, like, or she doesn't care
mm.
if I do. She understands that it's not that comfortable, so I don't really feel that pressure. Do you?
Mm, not with Lily. Um, yeah, and again, it's no one has suggested this, so I'm just
Oh,
projecting assumed um a pressure or a criticism or a what's that about type of reaction.
who would
Um
say that to you
um
for not
maybe
wearing a wedding ring?
maybe my mom, but I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe, or like an aunt of some sort. Just hey, what's that about?
like what's that about? Why aren't you wearing your wedding ring? I thought you were married.
Maybe,
Hmm,
maybe. But again, like I
interesting.
don't know. It's something that doesn't it's certainly not like a pressing, pressure filled feeling or thought.
Yeah.
But I'd be
I,
lying if I said it if it wasn't there at all.
I feel it's a conventional expectation. I don't know whether there's differences with where I live,
Uh-huh.
and the US or Canada, or even culturally way, West versus, Eastern, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Whether there's a, but yeah, I think it's
It's
generally an
I
expectation.
mean,
Yeah.
I
okay.
would argue that, for some people, especially if, let's say, there's more emotional insecurity
Mm,
involved, then there might be this sense of like, oh, they're not, and this isn't just for men, but for a woman too, like, oh, they're not wearing their wedding ring. Like, is that a red flag? Are they not as committed?
right.
Or do they not love the person? Or like a spouse thinking like, oh, my partner must not love me if they're not wearing a ring. Now,
Right.
I wouldn't have married someone who would like exist in that type of insecurity.
Mm.
These are certainly things to communicate about. Um,
So does Lily expect you to wear it?
no,
Okay. And that's all that matters, right?
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, honestly, it hasn't even really been a thought. I
Hmm.
mean, if it wasn't so like, it's not that a ring is so obtrusive, but come on, let's like, we could even be more sort of like, maybe if it was like I don't know, like a like a toe ring, something like that. I don't have to wash dishes with my feet. Like, okay, like just leave it there and just kind of, or ankle bracelet perhaps. I'd
Hmm.
probably be more apt to just leave it on.
Hmm.
But a ring really gets in the way sometimes. We do have people calling in, believe it or not, through this riveting conversation. People who
Wow.
have things that they want to say from all around the world. All right.
Hmm.
Let's start things off here because some people are driving and I would like them to pull over before they speak to us if that is their intent to call. But let's start here with Corey from New York. Corey, always welcome guest here on the Neal's
Hey,
Policy.
Hey, man.
hey. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, so before I get to what was originally on my mind, you guys were talking a lot about like the role of sentimentality in friendships, especially in like and how like maybe not as pervasive as it is in male friendships, which is something that I have thought about and talked about with my therapists several times over the years, just as far as like so I'm very thankful to have a tight core group of friends, but more specifically a tight core group of friends that I have known like since my teenage years. These are friends that I have held on to not just through high school, but through college and my early adult to like now fully adult life. And that's not something that like happens for a lot of people. You usually have your friends in high school, you go to college, you make friends in college, and chances are you catch up with your friends from high school like once, and then maybe that's it. That's not the case here. I have a group of friends that I've known for like more than half of my existence, which is a crazy thing to think about. And it's not something I do think about that often, which I think is interesting. And I don't know. Is maybe it's like a conditioning thing. Maybe it's just I'm not sure, but yeah, just I I never really talk about like my friendship with my friends because it feels like something so implicit, right? Like, why does anyone really want to talk about the nature of their friendship when they are just existing within the friendship, right? But it's one of those things where sometimes to take a step back and look at like the relationships that you've had throughout your life, it's something to be grateful for. And I lately have been trying to convey that to my friends, especially like as we move on in our lives to different things. I've had friends in the last couple of years move away and get engaged, and I'm going to be someone's best man for their wedding. And so it's really just one of those things where it's made me want to step back and sort of express that more, because especially in male friendships, like it's just not a thing you talk about.
Yeah, yeah. I
think
definitely struggle with that myself. Yeah. Sorry, Neal. You please go ahead.
I'm sorry, just really quick. I was going to say, like Corey, with the friendships you're talking about that go back so long, I think there's sometimes a sense, maybe among guys more than girls, that it's something that's understood. It's something that, if you're that close and you've been good friends for that long, maybe it doesn't need to be said. But there's something very nice about hearing it. I haven't been married. I probably never will. But I've been, in the wedding party as a groomsman or best man, that kind of thing, where you do get a bit of shine. Someone will pay you some tributes in their speech, make some jokes about you, tell some stories about you. And even if that's the one time that sort of happens in public in front of a crowd of people, it's kind of cool, It is nice to hear sometimes, I think, and nice to say as well.
I don't see many potential risks in doing it, aside from this might feel kind of awkward if it's not typical. But it's nice to be
risk.
nice.
Sometimes that feels like a really big risk, embarrassment. It may be another way of saying that.
All right, so wait, like help me play that out for you. If
Sure.
for you're saying like this may not be as obvious or natural or typical for you, like what would you, if this is something that you might feel, like where do you feel the possible like embarrassment may lie in that experience?
I mean, I guess like even getting into the conversation and getting into the space where you're there to just be like, hey man, I really love this relationship.
Okay, so
it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Sure, but I think it also depends on like how we communicate it. But just say you're hanging out with a friend, you meet for dinner, whatever, out in public, and you guys are chatting about whatever, and it's like, hey man, like this might seem kind of random, but I just want to say, like, I realize we've been friends for over a decade, and whatever, got a kid now, what, like, it's pretty fucking awesome that we're still friends and we like make time to spend time together. Like I like that.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds perfectly, I think natural. You can, you have, it's a skill, I think, to be able to maybe verbalize like an emotion, like it's a more, I think, typical conversation. Like I noticed you threw like a fucking in there.
Yes, to soften it, because it doesn't need to feel like this Hallmark-esque expression of
Right.
acknowledging relationship
Yeah.
and feeling very like expressing gratitude and all that
Sure.
bullshit. Like it's like use the common language of the relationship, but the intention is the same. It's acknowledging, hey, we're friends, we have been, I think that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand it, but it's also easier to not do it and to just like
You say
just move
that,
on.
but it's like it's a lot of things. If you're if you're trying to lose weight, well, it's easier to not exercise in every given moment, or it's easier to like eat the fried food in any given moment. And this might be a stretch, or even a morbid stretch, to use it as an analogy, but it's like I'd rather avoid the possible regret of losing the opportunity to express these things and having not. So knowing, look, I had the privilege, I could say, or benefit of knowing that my father's time was limited. So I made the most of expressing what I felt like I wanted or needed to with him, because if I hadn't expressed certain things, I think that would eat at me the rest of my life.
And if you, well, what if you didn't know that you had that limited time? Would you have done the same in that time? Because I guess what I'm trying to get at is like,
Fair point.
we kind of need that urgency and that sort of like limited time in order to motivate us, right? Or at least some of us do.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was relatively intentional just throughout my relationship with my dad to be like, hey man, like I appreciate what you've done for me. Stuff like that I'd sprinkle in on a fairly regular basis. But yes, having a like some sort of time's running out type of feeling, like, yes, that creates a sense of urgency. It's like it could be now or never type of thing. But as we know, the next moment isn't guaranteed for any of us. So if we think of it from that perspective, I guess perhaps awkwardness, this feels weird, but it's also nice to be nice. And if we feel genuine affection or appreciation for anyone, then I don't see how it's not a good idea to express that.
But I do agree with you, Jordan, that and it goes to what we were saying about language and so on. It feels better being organic. You know, I'm not at all reticent to tell people that I value them, but I'm not going to stop.
Oh, yes, you are, Neil. Of all the people I know, I feel like you are the most. That like the most genuine when it comes to, just wanting to express gratitude, I feel.
I do, I suppose so, but I like it to be organic. You know, I don't want to sort of stop a conversation about wrestling or sports to say, hold up. I want to get super real with you right now.
Now time for a very special message.
Yeah,
but my
using
point
all
is,
these Americanisms, but I do like it to feel. Hold up, dude. I do like it to feel like it's organic. You know, like we're sort of someone has said thank you for something, and I'm saying thanks back, and then. No, I appreciate it. You know, and here's this, and here's why. Or
and it depends on the person, because some people will really get uncomfortable with you going there with that type of really candid disclosure, or just kind of just that emotional vulnerability of acknowledging something like that exists between two people. But again, then you can soften it. And you say, hey man, it's really cool to be friends, and then fucking bang him in the dick or something.
Corey, thank you for introducing the idea. You're
yeah.
giving us, letting us think about doing it, and it's something clearly I think, we can all strive to be a bit more comfortable and natural with.
Of course. And just for the other thing that I wanted to get in, it actually goes very well. It dovetails very well from like talking about valuing relationships into more interpersonal relationships. So I finally kind of got off of my ass and did something I've wanted to do for a while, which is start a record label.
Nice.
I've exchanged emails. I have equipment. I have a CD duplicator coming in from UPS right now. I have a printer that actually prints onto CDs. So like I'm very much deep in production mode right now. I have my first order for like a bunch of CDs coming in on like a digipack, and then I'm already assembling like the other release also for our first drop. I booked my first show under the label's name, featuring people that I'm going to put out releases for. This was 2 weeks ago. We just had our first show. And there's a lot of feelings I have surrounding it. One being obviously feeling grateful that I had people that came out, but also, and I've booked shows in the past. It's not like this is anything different, but it's one of those things where you post something on social media, you see, oh, this got X amount of likes. How much is it going to convert into actual people coming through and expressing interest? And, that's when reality sets in a little. It's not like I'm going to say it was the most well-attended show in the world, but the people that did go were very engaged. And when I went to a show the next week, I had people come up to me and thank me for booking the show. Like that was a very wild thing to experience. And something I take a great pride in because, oh my God, I ain't NordVPN. Put that down. This ain't the shill. I ain't shilling here.
Tenebrae_NY is the Instagram.
But yeah, so, and I've been talking about this for months with people who I consider my friends, people whose music I want to put out. I consider them my peers. Some of them are very much easier to contact than others. One friend who he's actually, I consider him a close friend. We had been going back and forth having Zoom calls about it. And then suddenly in maybe the last couple of weeks or so, complete radio silence. And I'm contacting them, left on red, email sent, nothing. And I'm here just being like, hey, whenever you want to talk about this, let me know. And it's one of those things where like the reality of it sets in where you're starting to intermingle the professional and the personal. And so now I'm really trying to navigate that. And I know to a certain extent, you all deal with this very often. I mean, in particular way, I mean, your friend is also your business partner.
Yeah. And you're struggling with that? Because to a lot of people, that's a great thing to be able to work with your friends. Like
it is. But I guess for me, part of it is, I do feel like there's a certain amount of investment I have in this. Obviously, it's my record label and I take pride with what I want to do. But I also value clear communication, which some lines of communication just have not been clear and have been rather opaque. And there is a part of me that's like, all right, you know what, maybe for the benefit of my friendship, I should just cut this off right now. And if they want to engage in releasing their music, they can come to me.
Right. Yeah, I could see the difficulty there, especially if you kind of have to play a bit of a boss role, or at least like
Yes.
manager type of role. I I hope you're working with people who are as like invested in the project as you are, especially if it's like their own release, right? And I think you just have to rely on that, the fact that they want this to succeed as much as you do, and if they're not giving the effort that you're looking for, then I think it's up to a good friend to let them know, in my opinion. But if that's not possible, then maybe the relationship isn't possible. The working relationship, I should say.
Yeah. It's one of those things where in every aspect of my life, I try to, for example, in work, if someone says, the work I did on a particular project was not up to snuff, I have to try and not take it personally, because, it's one of those things where you have to keep like professional opinions away from personal. And in the case of a record label, for something I've wanted to do for so long, it definitely is a little bit harder, because I can't help but look at this as a reflection of my tastes and my sensibilities.
This stuff
But
looks
like
yeah.
criticism could be loving.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I just, I guess for me, I don't want to consider myself a perfectionist, but I consider myself hypercritical in terms of my mistakes. And so, and this could just be years of conditioning where I see a mistake as a flaw rather than a mistake as a learning opportunity.
Why is it realistic to assume you'll be mistake free?
It's not. I know it's going to happen, and it's just a matter of hardening myself a little bit.
Yeah, like I'd say for me, the win is that you're just executing on a desire. You've spoken about this record label at least once on this show months ago. So to me, it's like, yeah, you fucking won, in the sense that you've started, like you've done something, like you putting out music or getting the equipment to do so, or like throwing the show. Talk about another type of vulnerability, to book and then promote a concert. Like I've done that hundreds of times in my life, and it's like there's no guarantee it will go well or people will care. So the fact that you're just doing, that's the win. That's the win. Obviously, like you want to have a some bar of quality control, but there's something to good enough is good enough, and that's far better than not doing the thing because you're afraid it won't be perfect.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. It's one of those things where I'm taking a marathon, not a sprint perspective. I just want to put out music from people whose work I admire, and navigating the sort of interpersonal relationships that come with that is going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting journey. And that's really all I wanted to talk about, because I know that you guys, to some degree, have to deal with, some more than others, interpersonal relationships and professional relationships, and how those can intermingle.
Yeah, working with Neal on this has been a fucking nightmare.
Big diva.
Right back at you. I will say just briefly on that, Corey. Like my, I have a job, and it's in a political institution in Northern Ireland, and I've worked there for a long time. And if I make mistakes, or I'm at this point, I'm basically kind of very comfortable in the work. And although there's been changes over the years with more working from home post-pandemic and stuff like that, that has suited me very well. I'm probably way more self-critical about the podcasting side of things, either this show, or if I'm lucky enough to step in and co-host something else or do a guest spot, and I mess up, I probably notice it more than the listeners will, and I will, but I don't beat myself up. I do tend to go straight to, okay, well, what is the learning from this? And one that sticks in my mind is I did way you might remember, I did Rewind a Raw one Monday, and was sort of the first news story was a rather complicated one. And it was
Right.
about the endless toing and froing of legal briefs in the Grant lawsuit, the Grant versus McMahon WWE Laurinaitis lawsuit.
Yep.
And I felt I didn't do a great job of explaining it. And I actually reached out to John afterwards to say, what's the knack of like the difference between writing a story with all of this detail in it and trying to explain it on a podcast. And there's no silver bullet. There is, John was able to tell me, there isn't really kind of a magical kind of way to do it, but just, he gave me some advice, which was very helpful. And I felt like, okay, next time, I'll know better what to do and not sort of freeze up or stumble, trip over my tongue, that kind of thing. And I think it's interesting that when it's more of a passion project, which Way is lucky enough to do for his living, I wouldn't say that about my day job, although I don't hate it or anything like that. I feel quite comfortable with it. When it's a passion project like you're doing at the moment with the record label, you tend to be a bit harder on yourself, I guess.
Absolutely.
It only means you care a lot about it.
Yep.
That's all it means. Again, this will embarrass him, but on Instagram, Tenebrae, TENEBRAE_NY. If you want to find out more about Corey's label, give him a like, give him a follow, give him some support. Check out the music. Thank you very much, Corey. Congrats.
Have a good one, guys.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Corey.
Thanks, Corey.
All right. Thank you guys for being so patient in the chat room here, including Kenny. Let's go to you up next. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey.
First time caller, long time listener.
Welcome. Thank you so
Thank
much for being here.
Jordan, congrats on the wedding. My second anniversary was yesterday, and I definitely want to echo what you guys have been saying about like having events to celebrate yourself and have the connection with your communities and all of that. I'm a guy who doesn't really celebrate his birthday very much, so the wedding and the bachelor party and that kind of stuff really was kind of a nice event to have for that community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, one thing on the wedding ring, I was never a guy who wore jewelry, but then as soon as I got the wedding ring, I was like Mr. T. Like, I'm not wearing the stuff like that, but like, 2 or 3 rings, 2 or 3 chains. Like, once you let it into your life, I think it's time to embrace it and enjoy.
We'll see how I present next month with the jewelry.
Jewelry is
good.
fun. Accessorizing is a fun thing that I guess for a lot of people, wedding rings is sort of like a dipping your foot into their hand.
Birthdays is another one because as someone who's, again, not married, my friend sprung a 40th birthday party on me. That's kind of the one I think where it's probably I remember turning 30 and me and my mates all went out and it was good fun. But the biggest fuss I think is made of you at 40, probably. It is where I live anyway. And I thought we were going for a quiet meal, and it turned out that my pals, some of my closer friends, had basically invited everyone I know to behind my back to this big gathering in Dublin, and that was something I would normally completely shrink away from. I'm not a birthday person. I don't advertise the date of my birthday and stuff. I'm quite happy for it to come and go without anyone acknowledging it normally. I don't know why, but afterwards, I just felt so appreciated and everything, that I'm talking about it. So it's obviously something that's been very meaningful for me. So big birthdays can be another opportunity for that.
Absolutely.
So the thing that I actually really wanted to talk about is I have a sadder anniversary coming up. Last year when I was in London for All In, I got a text from a friend to let me know that another one of our friends had committed suicide. So like, it was this moment of like running around London, having the time of my life, getting ready to go to this big show, and then getting the news that one of my friends had passed away. Sorry, it's a little hard to talk about,
Sure.
but just wanted to share that, from podcasts like this and getting into therapy and meditation and all that stuff, it really helps to get through this kind of stuff, inspired by you guys and others. Also this year, been trying to have a child with my wife, and it's been a real like roller coaster. We had a pregnancy that we lost, and a lot of just up and down emotions with that stuff. So just to say to everybody, you know, if you're thinking about therapy or thinking about starting meditation or anything like that, just do it, because it really does help get through some of the harder times in life.
Yeah.
Respect to you, Kenny. You're doing a wonderful service by choosing to raise your hand right now and like speak this and share this. With miscarriage, I was chatting with a buddy a couple years ago who went through something similar. And I think at the time I looked at the statistics, and it may have been like 1 in 4 pregnancies end that way, which blew my mind. Don't fact check me on that specific stat, but it was an unusually high number for me based on how much I think we acknowledge that publicly or culturally, just the ways in which we often don't talk about that, and specifically men don't talk about that. So I think it's really valuable, Kenny, for you to share that experience with whomever is paying attention to this now.
Yeah, it's been funny is not the right word, but now that I'm kind of bringing it up to people, everyone has a story. A lot of my friends have been through similar experiences and just kind of kept it to themselves.
As awful as it is, it's also kind of normal.
But you don't know that because nobody talks about it.
Talking about it has yet to be normalized.
That's really hard.
I mean, you never think that it's going to happen, and then it happens. And then when I started to talk to other people about it, it happens to so many people.
Obviously,
and even, you know, going to the fertility clinics for testing and that kind of stuff, you know, you see the waiting room is packed with people who look like you and are going through the same thing. So, you know, even though it is really hard, you're not alone.
Obviously, like, none of us will ever know what it's like to carry a child and what that loss will feel like. But I'll say, like, it seems to me like there are a lot more support groups for women out there for this sort of thing than there is for men, because we just choose rather not to talk about it at all. So I think it's really important to like normalize things like that happening, and to like share the heartbreak that you go with from other people who have been through it, or, you know, can at least lend some support.
So if I can plug, my buddy through our conversations started a community for men specifically who've experienced this. So the Instagram is sad.dads.club, Sad Dads Club. And he's done a really nice and intentional job of building community and sharing the story just through press about not only his personal experience, but the idea that he's helping to build community amongst men who have experienced something similar.
Just you know, on what you're talking about, Kenny, I'm incredibly honored that you happen to find our little space as any form of like support or just even just entertainment, you know. Those, like, that always means the most to me, like whenever I hear from people who listen to the shows as some form of relief for, you know, what they might be going through in real life. So thank you very much for sharing and contributing.
It's my pleasure. You and John have been a part of my life for a long time now.
Awesome.
You know, basically anytime I take a walk to do anything, I'm listening to something that you guys are involved with, and it's been really great. So thank you for that.
And thank you, Kenny, for doing the same for somebody taking their walks right now. So much appreciated. Please call back.
I will. Thanks, guys.
Respect to you, Kenny.
Congrats
Kenny.
on the anniversary as well.
Thank you.
All right, let's go up next to Aram in Sweden. Is that right?
I'm in Sweden right now. Oh shit!
Thank you for pulling over. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Still with the seatbelt on though.
Oh,
there we go.
there we go.
There we
Get
go.
relaxed, Aram.
Is that James Richardson on you?
James Richardson? Who's
Yeah,
that?
that's you. That's
The Swedish humor? I don't know who that is.
no. Congratulations with your son's second birthday, Ray.
Thank you, man. Thank
And
you.
congratulations on getting married with Steve Bilenky.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
No.
pretty much.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, I want to
Congratulate
tell.
me for something, Aaron.
Yeah, you look like James Richardson.
I don't know who that is. Oh, the football
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
I've got the football.
exactly.
Okay,
Go Google him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am. I think this is him.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. He's a handsome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead winger for Neal.
He's a white bald guy.
Don't do him like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. All right. Okay. James Richardson.
Yeah. I want to follow up on Kenny. Like, it's hard to follow up on his, but I have a similar story. Like many years ago, I was really depressed, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos of John and Ray. They were like my Mr. Beast back then,
Hmm.
and I watched like I have a story to tell about my work, but I watched like hours of like Ray just doing these interviews with people about MMA that had no idea it was about MMA, and
Yes.
and some months ago I had this new patient at my work, like really aggressive fella. One evening he jumped another patient, and we used something called, for Americans over here, like if the Americans listen, we call it communication. We use that instead of that's just my humor. So
Yeah. Yeah. I figured.
no. I managed to get him off, like spoke with him, and he was like, oh, he was so aggressive, and he showed me his muscles that I should be afraid of him. So I said, oh, easy now. You should take this energy to like martial arts. And he said, oh, really? I said, do you know who I want to watch fight? I'm like, yeah, who's your favorite fighter? And he told me the great Kali. And right there, I think Ray knows why I love this story, because
Yeah.
when he said that, I told him I heard the exact same answer from a Christian before, and I told him, can we rank your top 5? And he only wants to rank Great Kali, but that was my connection to Ray right there.
Oh man, I don't even know how to explain that for people who don't understand, who might be confused. But
No,
that,
then
that is-
I
that's
can't even find
heartwarming.
those videos.
I might
I
have something
think they're
to do with
gone.
that. Sorry, I will send you a private link. I'll send you a private link around.
I have to show everybody about that.
It's hilarious because, around the same time scale, and I don't go back quite as far into the law days as you do, Aram, but, I was a fan of John and Way before Post, but not quite that far back. And I think John has lost access to his own YouTube
yeah,
account, and
okay.
therefore can't scrub some of the things like DJ Jopo.
Oh, that's on my
And,
channel actually. That's another
Is
going
it?
away.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
There's some other- and the
those
politics.
politics. Oh yeah, people are so brutal on him.
Jeez.
They took him too seriously.
Yeah, he was very prepared for the Sean Strickland fallout. Through his YouTube comment experience. Yes. Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, we were given a lot of freedom during that time at the Fight Network. Thank you for bringing that up, Aram. Much appreciated.
No problem. What's the topic?
The
Open
topic is
topics.
you, man. Well, seriously
Oh.
though, like I mean, you just congratulated my kid on turning 2. How old is your child, Aram?
He's 10 now.
10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember when he was born. I've known Aram for a long time. We've really just kind of communicated off and on online. But like, I remember you when you were a kid, and now you you're growing into a very fatherly gentleman with a 10-year-old son. And taking a cue from my friend Jordan here, I appreciate our relationship. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being on this podcast.
There it is.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it too. Oh wow. don't really know what to say about that.
See how awkward it is?
Yeah, it is. But I want to come about the jewelry part. I'm married too. I'm actually doing something for my wife right now. I should be doing something for my wife right now. I don't wear jewelry either. The only jewelry I have is I have a bracelet made by my son. So I understand why they do it into such a big angle on WWE.
Yeah, of course. You're about to have a strap match.
Oh yeah. As soon as I heard that, I regret I didn't make the intention to.
Are you going to All In this year?
No. If Neal comes and he really comes this time, I will come. Otherwise,
he has to be there. He's credentialed media. He's committed.
Really?
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Really? No. Last time he told me he went to an event, it was in Bellator in Dublin. He never went. He just posted some fake pictures of it.
This is an inside joke somewhat for people who are members of the Discord.
Maybe 5 people. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what this podcast's for.
Ram is waiting for my report on Bellator. Did it have a number? Bellator Dublin, probably 2022 or something.
I wasn't in on the joke, but he just downloaded some stock photos and just added them on the site on the Discord, and I thought like, I'm looking forward to this report.
The entire joke has been ruined, Aram. It's been going for years, and you've ruined it. Yes, I pretended I was there and just downloaded stock photographs with the stock.
Neal never came to
watermarks
Toronto. Neal never came to Toronto like last year. It was all stock photos that he just photoshopped himself into. It's his move. Yeah. So he is going to. Are you going to make the trip around? This is your chance to hang out with Neal in person. Finally.
Oh shit! I went to so much trouble last year for my wife getting to meet some random person in London. I'll see if she'll let me go this year. But actually, I am going to Ireland because the thing I'm doing for my wife right now is she's homesick. And she does something called geocaching. You guys know what it is?
I think it's pronounced geocaching.
Oh,
sometimes
sure.
here.
Yeah.
It's like,
orientation, but you find like some small treasures. It's like behind signs all over the town.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually what I was supposed to do right now. But, I don't hope she listens on it right now. But she wants to like, no, she... Probably she like wants to do every day. She gets like a prize if she does it every day for a year. She doesn't miss one day. It's really like a
geocaching. What is it?
I remember that. I remember that being a thing here, like 2009. You get these coordinates and you end up like in this little hole of a tree, and there's a little treat in there waiting for you.
It's still enormous. There's lots of apps for it, and it's worldwide. And Aram can explain, but is the reason for his trip to Dublin? But
you hide things around the world for other strangers to find.
And it's kind of like a take a thing, leave a thing, keep it going.
Exactly, and otherwise it's some catches are like around a historic object in the city, so you learn about the stuff too, and it's really enjoyable for the family. So instead of just going for a walk, we go for a walk and find these huge catches on our phones, and we find these coordinates. I like when your kid gets all the way, I'm pretty sure it's a real fun activity. Because you can like combine like I call it like Pokemon Go, but in real life. It's probably the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah. Anything to get the kid out of the house for a few hours to take up some time, I think is a worthwhile venture. So thank you, Aram. Yeah, thank you for the call. Thank you for pulling over, first of all, and for introducing our audience to the world of geocaching.
And I will 100% definitely meet you in Dublin, Aram, when you come over for your geocaching.
Sure you will, buddy. Sure you will, buddy. Okay?
He'll send a stock photo.
Yeah, I'm going to come to Belfast and find you.
Okay.
All right. Take care,
My
Ram.
name's out
Take
there.
care.
See you,
Thanks for
man.
your time.
You too, Aaron.
Bye-bye.
Have a great evening.
You too. Enjoy that McDonald's coffee.
Ooh, yes. All right, let's go. We got a lot of calls. These are very popular shows, so please be patient, everybody. We're going to get to all of you. Let's go up next to Mr. Kane. Welcome, Mr. Kane, to the Wellness Policy. Hey. I think he's just walking.
Oh,
maybe.
am I here?
You're
Oh,
here.
yes.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
You're on
Okay.
air,
Sorry.
on the internet.
Oh, guys. Yeah, I am walking. I'm kind of listen to you guys while I'm at work. So my shoot job is a mailman. So I'm a postman. I'm actual postman.
Wow.
Wow.
Repping
Can
the
we-
post.
Can we reveal
post office
general
there.
location?
San Diego.
Oh, very nice.
California.
Wow.
So I'm enjoying
This
the
is so
sunshine right
cool.
here, getting a tan. It's wonderful.
You know,
Do
you know,
Awesome city. I've been. Awesome
Yeah.
city.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
to. Do we have a take on the South Park song?
what?
The jacking it?
No, I don't know that one.
Oh wow. Oh, that's like
No.
you jacking it in San Diego. That's like
You know,
classic.
You know what?
Okay.
I never heard it because I kind of stopped with South Park like early on. I never really watched it like my whole friend circle. They were like diehard South Park, but like once I was done with The Simpsons, I stopped from that point. Yeah, all that animation after The Simpsons, I just it didn't. I felt like once I hit The Simpsons, I hit the zenith, and I was like, I'm good.
All right.
But I could
Alright.
be wrong, of course.
Check out this
There was,
song.
You're
That's all
wrong.
I'm saying.
You're
Yeah.
wrong. It gets better. You know, Mr. Kane, I didn't know
Thank
you were I didn't know you were a postman. I always tell this to people, but like growing up I never like dreamt of being like a firefighter or like astronaut or anything. I dreamt of being a mailman. And I don't know, there's just something soothing about like sorting things in their right
Really?
place. Like taking a big pile of stuff and just
That's
like
cool.
putting stuff in the right place. That dream died at some point, I guess, you know, got sidetracked. You don't really go to school for being a mailman, I guess. But how do you like your job?
But that really is it. Like organizing and just like it's all about efficiency. And you look at those packages that you have to put in your truck, and you're like, okay, how am I going to play Tetris today? And just fit the puzzle and put it into the back and make
Sounds
sure
like
it all fits.
I love that. Wow.
It every day is like a mini challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
So your connection is not the best, but nonetheless we can hear enough. So
It keeps me going, you know.
yeah.
Everybody's kind of like mentally, you know, depending on weather. But you're out there and you're just on your own, just
Okay.
delivering mail, talking to people, you know, building relationships with the people you're delivering to. So it's cool. It's so about relationships. That's kind of the one I was calling about. So the toxicity with like Twitter, right, and X, whatever you call it, and there's been this kind of migration from X to Threads or to Blue Sky. Are you guys like done with the switches? Like we're all around the same. Well, we're all around like the same generation, and where we kind of seen it all. Like
Mr. Kane, your connection's pretty poor. So, but
Right.
I think we get the gist of your question. So, unfortunately, we're gonna have to just say goodbye. I have to kind of, you know, do my duty and play producer here. But thank you for the question, guys. Are you done with the transitions from X, or are you just done with X in general?
Almost.
I don't express myself through it often, but it's still, I think, a pretty useful tool for water cooler type stuff. The immediacy of it, especially like breaking news, I'll often go there first before other sources.
And Neal, you're the
I
opposite.
feel like there is that the immediacy of sporting events, wrestling events, and so on, and seeing how people are reacting. Twitter still has that immediacy, then Threads really doesn't. If you want to follow, I stayed up quite late last night to watch the Democratic National Conference, and left raw till this morning. So I'm really into the presidential race at the minute, because it's truly one of those political events that
so
takes place in the US that's has such a global impact. Who is sitting in the Oval Office, is incredibly consequential to the rest of the world because of foreign conflicts and all sorts of things. Plus,
it's also just a race for the biggest prize, like arguably in the free world. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So following bits and pieces of it on Twitter last night, yes. As a social media, I don't really regard it as social anymore. I was a fairly early adopter of Twitter, and it was quite a nice place at first. And I really do feel that in the last couple of years since Elon Musk bought it and disbanded the safety and moderation team, that really it's the Wild West at the moment. And one of the worst places you can go is the For You so-called stream.
Yeah,
on Twitter, which
use
serves
that.
up stuff that is clearly not for you. Even if it takes no account of who you follow, takes no account of things that you've liked. Mm-hmm. At the moment, it seems to be serving up Elon Musk's vision of the world, which is, I feel like that's not the world's town square. That's not free speech. That's a billionaire using his money to push his own message. So the way I use it is certain events, immediacy, as Jordan was saying, follow what people are saying about SummerSlam, for example. And thankfully, they still haven't taken away the ability to curate your own lists, where you can put a list together of, say, local journalists have got something like that for work, for wrestling accounts, people you know in real life, things like that. And I'll go to those lists and dip in and out of those. So I spend a lot less time on the platform than I certainly used to.
Will you be live tweeting from All In?
Good question. And it would be the platform to do it from. Threads, as much as I think it's a nicer place, you don't get much traction there. So that's a very good question, Jordan. And the answer is I wouldn't. I'm not boycotting it. I haven't left. I haven't, I simply don't post very much. I tend to retweet some things and consume rather than put stuff out there.
Yeah, but you'll be going on behalf of Post Wrestling.
That's right.
But we're not expecting him to live tweet. We don't need it. If you want, you could take over the account.
If I see something that
say
people
something.
aren't if I see something that people aren't, I reckon people aren't seeing through the live stream on the pay-per-view, then that, to me, that's worth live tweeting. Sure. If I'm live tweeting the result, people are watching it on TV or on their phone or whatever, I don't need to do that. But it's a good question and something I'll consider.
Just live tweet proof that you're actually there. And that you're not just photoshopping a Shutterstock image. Yeah, my relationship with X, I don't know how often I was really tweeting from it anyway, but ever since Elon Musk took over, and it's become this sort of like playground for him to just like enact whatever he chooses to enact, I've really been that much more turned off by the entire platform, and I'm really hoping for its demise, so that I don't have to rely on it for work. At the moment, I really just kind of use it as a platform to promote my work.
Yeah.
And I use it on behalf of Post to promote our work. It's still the only, or at least largest sort of like platform for something like that. So we're reliant on it. But I don't take part in any of the conversations or the discourse. In fact, I find that there are people I like, and then I kind of like see their Twitter interactions and I end up liking them less. And I also recognize like their Twitter selves isn't necessarily their real self. So like I almost would just rather stay away from it all and not absorb any of it. But obviously you have to stay up with news. So I'm more on Reddit really than anything these days.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go up next to Eric. Hey, Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, guys.
Eric.
Long time, first time the wellness policy. This is great.
Is that right? Okay. I see your face so often, and I forget what shows you haven't called into. But
The idea of the video call took me about 4 or 5 calls, I think, to SmackDown just to get comfortable. And
Right.
I was listening. I never get a chance to listen to this live, and Jordan, congratulations on your wedding.
Thank you, sir.
And Neal, congratulations on being awake at a reasonable hour to record a show.
Thanks very much, Eric. I appreciate
Very
it.
cool. I just wanted to mention something you talked about the kind of towards the beginning about the outside opinions or peer pressure about wedding rings and expectations about how to behave. And I was thinking of it through the context of I'm a single person who lives in a house in a community that I just recently relocated to a year ago, and I found myself very stifled as to how to gauge outside opinions or meet people. And I have a front entrance that has some brick damage and some work that I have to do, like any homeowner goes through. And thankfully, it's not plumbing issues. But I was struck by the fact that the only person to make a comment about it was someone who I met one time walking her dog by the house, and who happened to say, oh, I walk by here all the time. You gonna fix that front? Kind of like the neighborly person who would probably be the one to say, well, why aren't you wearing your wedding ring if you're married, right?
Fix that.
Damn.
Oh, come on. Is it that bad? No, come on.
No, it has like a rail that's leaning because I need to get it like re-concreted. I need someone who has a lot more skill than I do to do it, and it's a budget thing. Like anything.
Maybe that neighbor would volunteer to help you out and actually make the fix, or hire somebody to make the fix.
She would stand very sternly and be supervising, I'm sure.
And in most situations like that, to me, I take the perspective of that's more revealing of the person than it would be of me.
Yeah, the neighborhood busybody, really, isn't it? I mean, he's worried about the price of housing in the area going down because
I
of
would
railing.
never join Nextdoor, which is an app that they use a lot in neighborhoods now.
Oh, it's international.
What is that? Okay.
Yeah. It's basically Facebook, but it's for sort of your neighborhood.
Oh, neighborhood.
Okay. My mother's on it, and yes, it's usually missing cats and people complaining about things.
Okay.
Lots of screenshots of your front door cameras and things. I've heard. Look out for this, look out for that, but also a lot of gossip, right, Neal? It seems to be the way.
I mean, it can't be worse than Twitter, right?
Yeah, it's like a fun little, but it's people you might bump into. They're not anonymous, in some respects. But to that point, and just I'm always very sensitive to your time and not wanting to filibuster. But I do find it's kind of a related thing. I do think that you guys are talking about kind of being positive and being vulnerable, and especially with male friendships. And I found that as I made this change in my life, and when you talk or you feel like you're talking about it too much to your friends, or when it's not about being a certain age, not having children, not being married, that you do feel burdensome, or you do have that secondary so like my normal social conversations kind of feel like I do when I call in on Fridays, and I try not to take up too much time for Way and John because they're actually working on like a time frame. I know you've got a time limit, you want to get into a certain number of people. I kind of do that with normal conversations, and I find it odd that I was able to find more freedom to talk about, like Way for you and John. I think I mentioned once that talking about post wrestling was more inspiring to me as a new business owner than it was that I've not had that conversation with a friend of mine, which is odd.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's maybe what men do. We fall into that mindset of we don't want to put ourselves or our issues on other people. And I was just, wondering if you'd had similar experiences, because I have definitely found that to be the case.
I tend to find people like kind of interested in like what I'm doing for work. Like when they hear that I'm a podcaster and that I've started like my own thing with my friend, like they kind of want to learn more. So maybe I've just been fortunate that I've had friends that took that sort of interest. There are other friends where like they don't care or just don't really know much about what any of this stuff is, and we just kind of focus on other things. It's you have friends that will be naturally interested in your that overlap with your areas of work, and others that you will bond over with other things, right? So it sounds like though you want more of an outlet to talk about your sort of entrepreneurship with other people, right?
Yeah, or feeling like you can make the entreaty, right? And I think that's, you guys were mentioning that about do you put yourself in that position of having the conversation? You know, is it too awkward to say, hey, I really need to, take a few minutes and talk about how I'm doing, or whether it's going well or going poorly. You know, they're equally challenging to a person trying something. You know, I know that I think Corey was talking about with doing a rock show and promoting a show. You know, I followed him on Instagram when you guys were talking earlier, because that's how we try to help, and support each other in this community. But yeah,
do you care to share like what it is that you're working on?
Oh, it's not. I don't even have I have an eBay store, so it's
Oh, that's right. Of course, I listen to.
Yeah, and but it's not even it's not even a promotional thing. It's more I struggle with, and Neal was alluding to it a little earlier with when your day job you don't want to talk about because you may not think that the person in your life who you've always been emotionally tied to, and about their family, their kids, their other things, that they don't like to talk about their work anymore because they have these other things. And when your work becomes so dominant, this is really when you're starting something new, you just want to be able to talk about it the same way that you're happy to have them talk about their children and their families and their vacations. And it's one of those things. So
you just have to find those sort of relatable points of context, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe start with where you are now by talking about your own perceived resistance to talking about it in the first place. I feel like that's always a place to start. Hey, I'm noticing this within myself. That's interesting. Now I get if you're feeling vulnerable about bringing up the thing in general, then you might feel a vulnerability in talking about the meta perspective vulnerability of it with the person. But that's if that's your human experience, then that's certainly something that could be shared and start from there.
Yeah, I can relate to the starting point, Eric, of your conversation where you're saying, because you and I seem to be in similar positions as single guys without, I don't know if you said you had kids or not, I don't know, but I don't have kids, and I'm not married, and I'm an older guy. So my peers generally are in that position, and I tend to defer to the fact that I know they're busy because they've got work all day, and often the kids are still pretty young, they're at school. That takes up a lot of their time as well. But I think what I've managed to do with my closest friends is to just find a way. I mean, I'm happy to take that position of being the one who has a little more time to himself, and timetabling a dinner or a lunch, or just a coffee or just a phone call or something like that, and being fairly selective about who I think will be most receptive to. Do you want to catch up? And start with that, and then see where you go. I'm willing to bet you could name at least one of your friends who would be more receptive probably than others to letting you kind of just get stuff off your chest a little.
Yeah, I think Jordan was mentioning earlier about the celebrating your wedding and the bachelor party and the getting together is you don't realize until it sort of happens that people do want to celebrate you, and it doesn't. And none of this comes from an insincere place. No one has an ulterior motive to not be supportive. It's simply sometimes getting when you feel as though you're in the non-normal or the unusual place at the stage in your life that you're at, and like I said, it's strange to me that I think the longest conversation I've had about my own experiences was recording a postmarks, it's just having an hour to talk to to those guys. It was unusual because at the end of it you go, oh man, I talked a lot about myself, and you feel self-conscious, but also you go, but that was the task, and and they were very kind and very attentive listeners.
They're so good at that.
Yeah, and it was a strange experience. But I'm trying to I have a therapist as well, just like Corey does, and many people do. Trying to work on that as well, is not feeling that way and not doing that. But I also, it's very, very interesting to me that this community in particular, and I talked about it on that particular show, this has been a safe place for me, which is more than just the entertainment value and more than just having a place to go. Is everyone I've interacted with from this community has been super, super supportive and kind, and offering a little bit of a boost. So I appreciate that about you guys.
Thanks, Eric. And when Wei and I started this, it was certainly my intention, and I believe this was very clearly expressed to Wei, that I want this to be a community podcast. And I want, what Wei and I enjoyed in our friendship, and then including Neal, what we've enjoyed with Neal as well, is just these are ways in being in friendship with one another that we've normalized, where it is obvious to talk about personal things and to talk about sometimes difficult things, and to also like have fun and be playful and talk about dumb shit too. And like all of that, I believe is part of what makes up a healthy friendship at a minimum. These are our life experiences, and therefore I think everything's on the table in a friendship like that.
The fact that we have a designated space, like even if it's once a month for like an hour and a half, where we can at least like open up the sort of comfort levels to get into this sort of conversation, is very valuable. I mean, not just to, I'm sure, listeners like Eric, it's valuable to me. I don't have a ton of, spaces like this to share, or just to kind of not feel the pressure of like having something else to do, and just instead focus on ourselves and talk about what might be on your mind, or get into this sort of conversation. I think it requires like, people like Neal and Jordan as well, who are clearly very comfortable and very good communicators, who make me feel safe, and to be able to talk about these things as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's really, really good to talk to you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
calling,
Eric.
man. Yeah, please call back. All right, this person has been waiting patiently, and I'm gonna go to Steve Grows Weed right now. Steve, are you able to speak, or is this a bad time? Should I go back to you?
No, I'm good. I can pull over right now.
Okay.
Already have.
Steve, what's on your mind?
Just saying hello. Feels like it's been a minute since you guys have had a show. I said it online, but congratulations to you, Jordan.
Thank you, Steve. What's it like sharing the first name with one Steve Bilenky?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I've never met a Steve I didn't like. So, I mean,
I bet.
Having a last name like Bilenky, it's almost as cool as having a last name like Jessam. So,
or Grows Weed.
Yeah.
Or Grows Weed, yes.
How have you been? How's work? How's everything?
Well, I'm not working right now. Like I said, I don't know if I told you guys last time, but I'm in school right now to be a truck driver. So
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I was just coming back from that when you guys had me on.
How do they train you to become a truck driver? Like what's the training like?
You get in a truck, like, I mean, the first 2 weeks are just in class crap, which was horrible. But after that, you're in a yard, like we're in like a gravel pit kind of thing, and we just drive around and practice shifting and not hitting other things and stuff like that. I've been out on the real roads like one time so far.
Do they teach
scary,
you?
It's crazy.
Do they teach you endurance?
No, you gotta figure that one out on your own.
Oh my god, because that to me would be the toughest thing. I mean, beyond operating the machinery, it's just like figuring out how you stay awake.
Yeah, coffee and podcasts.
Right.
That's where you guys come in.
You should hit up Brandon from New Jersey. He spends most of his days on the road. And I think
speaking of which, why don't we do that now? Let's bring Brandon from New Jersey into the conversation. Welcome, Brandon. If you're still there.
I'm here.
Any tips for a burgeoning rookie here, Steve Grows Weed, on the driving?
My job luckily gave me the opportunity to have somebody teach me how to drive and not pay for a school. So that doesn't happen often. I don't think it happens anymore. So,
no.
But podcasts and coffee helps out a lot with your endurance and stuff like that. It's all in the mind. It's all a big mental game. Like don't let stuff get into your head. Just have like distractions besides don't have the distractions. You don't want to get distracted while driving because you might get an accident. But have some like podcasts help get you to the day. You'll be fine.
Huh. Wow, expert advice from one Brandon from New Jersey.
I like it. I feel enriched.
I'm legitimately like interested because like I'll tell you, one of the fears I have these days is like driving, especially driving long distances and like getting really sleepy.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the fears I had were driving out in singular roads and mountains during this vacation.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're
Oh,
calling
yes.
from Puerto Rico.
That's right.
Are you still on vacation, Brandon? Yeah.
I come back tomorrow.
Oh, back to real
I
life.
can't
yeah.
wait. I can't wait to go back. I'm beached out. But yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Wayne.
No, nothing. You called in. What's on your mind?
You got Steve Rosie on the line.
Steve.
I'm patient.
This is shared time. This is
Let me be
doubles
greedy.
action.
Let me be greedy here.
I've been
Steve,
day drinking as well, so bear with me.
Steve, how long have you been married?
Okay, so full disclosure, I'm not actually legally married right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's
riding
fine.
dirty in that marriage. Huh?
Why be sorry? Maybe he's happy about that.
No, it's fine. Well, like we had gotten engaged. Like I had been married before, right? And then I had a long fight for divorce. And then we had gotten engaged. And we had planned on getting engaged. And then, but like we weren't rushing towards like the marriage. And then all of a sudden like COVID hit. Plus we've had like my wife just had to retrain and go into a new job. Now I'm doing the same thing because my company went bankrupt. So it's just we've been on this very extended engagement to the point that I just call her my wife because it's just easier to do so.
Oh, I could have gotten away with doing that. I didn't realize.
Even this, I wear this ring, but this ring isn't actually a wedding ring. It's like it's a stone, and it's for like centering and keeping people calm. And it's supposed to be worn on this ring, on this hand, on that finger. So that's why I have that. So
Keep the strays away too, right?
Sorry.
Keep the strays away, right?
That's it. Yeah. I used to always joke, it's like, why the hell does anybody want the government involved in their relationship, right? But the older you get, the more you realize that, like, your partner doesn't get your pension or any of that stuff if you pass, right? So that's the reason to get the government involved in your relationship, right?
Sounds like Project 2025 out here.
Didn't realize I was hosting a podcast all this time with the woke mob.
The woke mind virus.
Steve,
go ahead.
Steve, what are the Canadian divorce laws like?
What are the Canadians what?
Divorce laws.
Oh, it's not like there. I mean, it was just there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of waiting. It's and like when your ex doesn't want to do anything to do with this or help you in any way, yeah, it makes for a long process. So. But yeah, we didn't have to split up assets and stuff because we both kind of walked away from everything. And by the time we actually started the process, it was years later. Our kids are grown, so we didn't have to worry about any of that crap. So that was easy. So yeah, for us, it's like the actual divorce. We didn't have to fight over things, so that wasn't really. I did all my fighting in court for the child custody stuff, but yeah, we didn't have to do any of that with the divorce, so it was easy. But I mean, I didn't call and talk about divorce law. I've been listening.
Can we get your ex on the line?
No, definitely not. No. She hates me to this day, even though it's been like almost years.
Oh, sorry to hear.
You don't even want to hear about Sarah. She's so fucked. Anyway,
Open topics.
But like, yeah, I guess so. But you guys were talking earlier just about like men showing each other affection and different stuff like that, right? And I've been somebody that's struggled with that, and I'm trying to correct it as much as I can, to the point that like me and my dad, we never really expressed anything like that, right? And then the last few years, especially he's in his like mid-70s now, so it's like I very much see like a time where he's not going to be in my life, right? So making sure, kind of like what you were saying, Jordan, like making sure that he's aware of how I feel has been very important to me, right? So it's like, so now it's like every time I see him or talk to him and I say goodbye to him, I'm always making sure I say I love you and everything else. And there's still, like a few years in of doing this, there's still this weird hesitation from him because it's not a natural thing that we've done all our lives, right? That he's still I'm getting more and more used to it, but he's still trying to wrap his head around. Like, he returns the sentiment, and, and I know he feels it, but saying it out loud is still a strange thing for him, which I find it's gotten to the point now that it amuses me that to make him that uncomfortable for that moment, right? So.
I can't imagine what it would be like if I suddenly said that to my dad. Like, you have to understand, It's not
Do
even
it,
just
try
a.
it.
It's not even, no, unfathomable. It's not for me just even a male thing. It's an Asian thing. Like we just don't do that. Like it's implied. We do it through action, right? You know, we just don't verbalize it. So I just it's like it's almost icky to think about.
You've
Which,
mentioned this before, Wei, which I find fascinating, that it's just like almost unthinkable to you. So, but is it something that's understood, if not said? You know, it's kind of
Yes,
like
100%.
you get it kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's-
like I feel their love in other ways, like through their actions,
Mm.
like through them telling me to, like, you know, hey, like take care of myself by doing this and doing that. I don't question for a fact that they love me. We just don't like put it front and center like that. That said, I am trying to do things differently with my son. I mean, you know, I want to normalize, you know, saying I love you to my son. And I mean, he's 2 right now, so of course you know, it's no big deal because he barely understands what I'm saying, but
He
let's say
doesn't
it
shame
back.
you when you say it.
No, but I want to show him that this is a normal thing. At least I want to try and see what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
me,
Same
I'm
culture.
the opposite. I'm a hugger, dude. I'm a hugger, man. Like I'll go to anybody. Like I'll go for the kill, man. Like because you never know, man. It's weird. As you get older, you realize, like, you know, that might be the last time you see this person. Like, so I was like, hey, man,
I was going to say,
I love
Brandon,
you.
like,
Yeah.
and
Hug it out.
you seem very tight with your family as well, like your mom and pop and
Oh yeah, they're all here in this house right now. It's crazy.
yeah.
Wait.
So you have no issues with telling people you love them and expressing your
It
affection for
was
them.
never
Brandon.
like that. It was never like that, Neil. It just like evolved, like over time. Like I just started thinking to myself, I was like, you know, you gotta show respect to the elders and give them their flowers now before, because they're not gonna be here.
And how,
What's
well,
Steve said.
how do you initiate that?
I
Like,
just go for the kill, man. I'd be like, hey, man, yeah, just open my arms up, like, hey, man, you're awesome, man. Love you, man. Can't I'll talk to you soon, like, or something like that. I don't know. I'm brave like that when it comes to
I,
that
all
stuff.
right,
and I've
admirable.
I've
Yeah,
found
man.
I've found with people, someone specific comes to mind a couple of days ago, post wedding, older guy, and not the most overt when it comes to like emotional expression, things like that. But you know, when it was time for me to say goodbye, I basically just said, I'm going to give you a hug, and I said I love you to him, because I haven't found it that it's typical for him to do that, not just with me, but maybe just in general with people. And I feel like he appreciated that, and he responded in kind. And I'm sure for him it was far more unique, maybe awkward for him than it was for me. But again, from my perspective, it's nice to be nice. I don't think I was being too forward in doing that, and maybe in doing it, I help normalize that for someone like him. Maybe not. That's fine too. But again, I don't really see some real risk in offering that type of sincere love.
Though I will say though, I feel like Jordan, you are completely immune from shame and embarrassment. You've just kind of evolved past feeling anything like that. So I think
mean,
you have a little bit of an advantage.
That's not true as an absolute, but yes, I have some sense of, if not comfortability, I have some sense of willingness to feel awkward or to feel even rejected, dare I say. Like the show Impractical Jokers. I would love to do something like that, where it's just outright awkwardness and rejection, and just like, to me, that looks a lot of fun, to put yourself in really odd, embarrassing sometimes, but often uncomfortable social situations. So yes, I'm pretty okay, and sometimes I actually enjoy that type of like walking on the tightrope socially with people.
I remember I was going in for the kill with a chick after a date, and I went in for the hug, and before that I went in with the arm during a movie, Pearl Harbor, and
Very romantic.
she wasn't feeling. Yeah, I know, right? You know the ending of that movie, but yeah, she thought I was being too extra, so I felt the rage, and then I'm not the rage, but the vibes of it just wasn't going well. So
Well, that's
no,
different for what we're talking about, I think.
well, I mean, you're going for an embrace, and then kind
Yeah,
of
it's still you're opening yourself up to rejection.
exactly. And I was game for it, and I got rebuffed, but I got back up off my feet, brushed my boots up, and got another opportunity. So
There you go. But that's part of what I liked about dating, in that you are walking this tightrope and you don't know like how it's going for the other person, and it's just all this it's just a lot of tension, and like that's kind of fun for me sometimes.
I mean, I remember Way. I went for the kill with Way that one time, and he gave me that weird embrace. But
When was this?
Last time I was in Toronto. No, but it was all in jest, like because I sent you a meme of Busta Rhymes hugging a dude, and we initiated we imitated that rebuff. It was funny. It was a good bit. There was no hate. It was hilarious. I laughed. I mean, like Neal.
I laughed on the inside.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we hugged several times. But I'm a hugger.
Oh yeah, me too. It's all vibes, man.
Yeah, I've had a Way hug. They're good. I'll say I don't think you are a hugger, Way. I think you feel
not
like
at all. It's very unnatural.
It's
I will never
hilarious.
initiate.
It's hilarious when you try to.
Wait, I don't know if this was verbalized, but when you and I were in Philly for WrestleMania weekend, and we went to Ring of Honor together, we took the subway back, and
How were those subways, by the way?
I think Way was maybe slightly uncomfortable in the subway ride home. We had some pretty belligerent people.
Yeah, it was pretty uncomfortable actually.
Yeah, those subways are rough, man.
I felt relatively comfortable in that type of environment, but I was trying to keep my calm for Way. But wait, so I kind of dropped you off at your place, and then I proceeded to walk back to mine, or really Neal's. You and I, like, we did some sort of handshake, and it was one of the worst like goodbye hand embraces that I've had in a while. Do you remember this?
I do not remember. I didn't know you felt that way about it being so disappointing. I'm sorry.
It was brutal. It was brutal.
I guess what are your expectations when it comes to goodbye handshakes?
Well, because I know you're not a typical hugger, and we had probably hugged at least a few times already that weekend. So I was like, let me let Way off the hook, and I don't know who initiated it. And then it's like, there's different types of handshakes. Do you go for more of like the formal stiff handshake, or do you go for more of like the bro thing that tennis players now do after matches? And you and I were just like not on the same page at all. And it's like, oh, are we doing this? No, maybe we're doing this. And then it's like, is there an equal amount of pressure involved? And it was like, you and I, if we were to like hook up, I don't think we'd have much physical chemistry.
Sorry to hear that. I didn't realize it was such a moment, I guess. I mean, at that point in the evening, it's we're probably both tired. I'll do better next time, Jordan.
No,
Give me another chance.
But honestly, like, maybe this is a part to your point earlier. Because it was so bad, I loved it.
Okay.
Like, I was excited to go walk back to the spot and tell Lily, oh, Way and I just had this terrible handshake embrace.
Just to be clear, you're not putting all the entire blame on this handshake on me, right?
No,
it takes two to handshake.
Yes.
So your 50% of the problem was you.
At least 50%.
Okay.
But it's interesting that it made no impact on you, and it was like all I could think about on the walk home.
Is that right?
Yeah.
People have such different ways of expressing this. When I met Braden for the first time when I spent a week in Toronto last.
Big hugger.
Yeah, I'd been there all week, but Braden had been busy. I think he'd been away with his partner, and he appeared at the Japanese restaurant. There was quite a lot of drinking done that night. Yeah, the sake bombs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that place.
Oh yes.
But Braden came in and he made a beeline for me, and I got this incredible like bear hug from him. And that was the first sort of interaction under the same roof at least I'd ever had with him, and that was clearly just the way he wanted to say hello. But yes, I've also had the
when I got
awkward
lost at the
handshake.
Toronto airport and I finally met up with him.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, guys. I hate to end this on an awkward handshake,
Thank you guys.
but
Love you
yeah,
guys. Thank
we are
you.
running up
Neal,
on 2 hours. Brandon, it's always good to hear from you.
always good to hear from you. Neal, congratulations on being Le Press. I hope you wear your finest fedora for covering the AEW show and ask all the hard questions that we want from Scott Coker. I mean, not Scott Coker, Tony Khan.
Yeah, if I get a chance, I'll ask Tony how he's feeling. Or, how's he
Give him a
really
nice
feeling.
awkward handshake. He feels like a hugger to me.
Yeah, I
Jordan,
think so.
congratulations. Shalom Shabbat. We love you, brother. Wei, love you, man. Love all you guys. Love what you do. I didn't really ask my question, but I think we got enough material.
What's your question, quickly?
No. It's all good. This is good. This is good. This is beautiful. I'm going to go back to the pool. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Okay. Sorry, Steve, Hansi. Quickly, one word from each of you. Hansi, what's one word?
Well, I was gonna just say what I'm saying. Congratulations to Jordan.
Thank you, Hansi.
And I just want to. I'm gonna go listen back. I just woke up. So
Is this
I
crackling
just wanted,
only coming through on? Okay, something's up with your
It's
phone.
kind of insufferable.
Okay, sorry. Bye, Hansi. It's really bad. And Steve, I can't.
No, I think it's Steve. Is it Steve?
I don't know.
Steve's problem.
I'm outside, so it could be me.
Oh, it's
It's
totally.
Steve.
I just want to say though, like,
Oh no.
based
No. We gotta get rid of Steve. Sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
Hansi.
Oh no.
Sorry, Hansi. You took the bullet for Steve.
Oh,
We don't have time. This has gone way too long. I gotta get going. Jordan, congratulations. Neal, thank you. I look forward to congratulating you after this weekend.
Thank you, Wei. Thank you, Jordan.
oh yeah, Neal. I guess if you're not getting married, I'll save all my loving thoughts for the funeral.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Fair enough.